Hey guys, what is up? Terrible Top 10s here, and do I have a video for you today? So, without further ado, this is the top 10 worst business decisions ever made, in my view. Number 10, Eminem and ET. Mars. Not that Mars, Mars Incorporated, home of the world famous Mars bar. But also to the equally well known, or maybe more well known, depending on where you are, M&M's. We all know how big a film ET was when it came out, which makes this business decision all the more ridiculously stupid. The deal the creators of ET offered was simple. M&M's would be used in the film as product placement, and in exchange, Mars would then be allowed to use ET in their adverts going forward. Why did they not take it then? Well, it's rumoured that Mars just didn't see it as a good use of their money. Their loss was Hershey's gain, however, and they agreed to pay $1 million to promote the film in exchange for the rights to use ET material in their adverts. Needless to say, the deal instantly paid off, with Reese's Pieces profits rising 65% in just 2 weeks after the film was released. Number 9. Rupert Murdoch and MySpace. MySpace was the social media network back in the day. Before Facebook, before Twitter, before Instagram, there was MySpace. Rupert Murdoch was quite right in wanting to buy it, and buy it he did for $580 million. That part wasn't the mistake, I can understand that. The mistake came about because of Murdoch's desire to turn MySpace profitable, which he did by, you guessed it, ads.
No! God, please, no! 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 No!
However, he piled on too many ads too quickly, which alienated the users, eventually pushing them into the open arms of Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook. Number 8. Quaker Oats and Snapple. In 1993, Quaker Oats purchased the Snapple brand for a cool $1.7 billion. Good decision? Well, it's on this list, so no. The Snapple purchase failed miserably. Most think because Quaker thought they could use their skills in distributing to supermarkets and mass markets, which they soon realised wouldn't help at all, as over half of Snapple's sales were at small convenience stores and gas stations, areas Quaker had no expertise in. Quaker later sold the brand to Triarch for $300 million, resulting in a loss of $1.4 billion. As an extra kick in the teeth, Triarch later sold Quaker to Cadbury's for $1.45 billion. Number 7. Decca Records and the Beatles. I'd never heard of Decca Records before making the script for this video, and there's probably a good reason for that. In 1962, the Beatles performed a 15-song set for the record company as an audition. The executive of Decca Records then told the Beatles manager, Brian Epstein, quote, "Not to mince words, Mr. Epstein, but we don't like your boys' sound. Groups are out. 4-piece groups with guitars particularly are finished. The Beatles have no future in show business." I think that's all that needs to be said for this one. Number 6. New Coke. So many people around the world buy and love Coca-Cola, myself included, that it seems idiotic to mess with that. But mess with that Coke did in 1985 when they changed the beloved formula and released New Coke. Even though most of the recipes stayed the same, sales dropped by nearly 20% as customers absolutely hated it. Luckily, Coke realised what they had done and reverted back to the old formula, and eventually in 2002, they killed off New Coke entirely. Thank God. Although saying that, I've never tried it, so cool. Number 5. George Lucas and Star Wars merchandise. It's fair to say Star Wars is a cultural phenomenon which has raked in billions at the box office. And when there's big money, there's the chance for big mistakes. And in this case, 20th Century Fox made that mistake. In order to get George Lucas to take a 20 grand pay cut, they gave him all of the merchandise rights to Star Wars and any sequels they made. Yep, you heard that right. 20th Century Fox effectively sold all the merchandise rights for Star Wars for $20,000. Number 4. Kodak and digital cameras. Kodak was the biggest player in the world of cameras, and they actually were the first to invent digital photography. So what happened? Well, they made a terrible business decision. In 1975, Steve Sasson, a Kodak engineer, invented the first digital camera. He pitched it to the executives at Kodak, who then decided, stupidly, that although they all knew digital cameras would become vastly more popular than their current cameras, they would hide their invention away and continue making money from selling the film for their old analog cameras. By the time they started making digital cameras decades later, they were well behind the curve and could no longer compete. Number 3. Electronic data systems and Microsoft. Back in 1979, when Bill Gates was only 23 years old and Microsoft was in its very early days, Electronic Data Systems, a competing company, was worth about $1 billion. The founder of that company, Ross Perot, was offered to buy Microsoft for $40 to $60 million, yep, million, but rejected the offer saying it was too high. Oh dear. Ross Perot has since been quoted as saying it was one of the worst business decisions he'd ever made. Really? Number 2. Blockbuster and Netflix. Okay, you've probably all heard this one, but I'm going to say it anyway because it was a colossal mistake. Do you remember Blockbuster? Maybe. Depending on your age, you maybe only know of Blockbuster as the company Netflix put out of business. But yeah, a huge mistake was made here. Huge. At the height of Blockbuster's power, when they had annual revenue of $6 billion, Netflix offered them the chance to buy the company for $50 million. $50 million? For Netflix? The then CEO of Blockbuster, John Antioco, saw Netflix's DVD by mail service as a niche that wouldn't last, and essentially laughed the Netflix bosses out of his office. To add insult to injury, when Blockbuster filed for bankruptcy in 2010, Netflix was valued at over $20 billion. Number 1. Excite and Google. In 1999, Google was fast becoming a major search engine. At the time, Excite was a larger competing search engine, and Sergey Brin and Larry Page, Google's founders, wanted to sell Google to them. The Excite CEO George Bell rejected a $1 million offer, and then also rejected a lower $750,000 offer. To put that into perspective, that $750,000 would be worth roughly $860 billion today, assuming Google still became what it is today, which to be fair is quite questionable. So that was the video. Thank you guys for watching. If you liked, please like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.